Hi, everybody. So, welcome to Angel Cruz's YouTube channel. And so, my name is Jorge, and we have Angel, my best friend, and we're making this video. Still, the title's to be determined, but you'll see the title when you read the video. Anyways, we wanted to make this video kind of to bring our experience as Mexican Americans going through the California community college system, and first high school, then to the community college system, and then to a UC, world-renowned university. And we kind of wanted to shed our insights into how we did it, and like kind of give a little bit of advice when we can to help the next generation of students. So really quickly, I'm going to go over the kind of video agenda, what we're going to discuss, so you guys know ahead of time what we're going to talk about. So first, we're going to talk about kind of like our high school to community college transition. Next, we're going to talk about our community college experiences, a few things here and there. Then how we transferred from the community college to the University of California, because our paths were kind of different on that. And then our experiences at the University of California, which we both attended together. So we might overlap in what we discuss. So that'll be kind of funny. So yeah, so Angel, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everybody. Angel. I am Mexican American. I immigrated here to the United States when I was 13 years old. And as Jorge said, we are going to be explaining and sharing with you guys our experience through high school, community college, and four-year institution, and also the transfer process. So Jorge is gonna, give us some, feedback, and then he's gonna take charge of the agenda, and then we can go from there. So thank you, Jorge, and that's my best friend too.
Yeah.
And we share Davis experience together.
Yeah, and even high school too. We were playing on the same soccer team and trying to do the best we could to win those games and score goals. Anyways, so first I want to bring up like what was your cultural upbringing in relation to your education, because the different cultures have different like ambitions towards what they want to like have their kids study. Some cultures want their kids to be doctors, scientists. What was the mentality like in your family?
Yeah. So in my family and in the culture, parents encourage their kids to go to school, graduate, become someone in life, and get a degree. But what I've seen most of the time is that the parents, they only tell their kids, hey, go to school, do good, but they never really set the example. And two reasons why is because back in the day, they were not given those opportunities. And second, because sometimes they just, focus on working and don't really understand the English language because it's not their original language. So I would say that the culture bringing for me, it was really emphasized: go to school, study, get a degree, but it was never really put in practice by my parents because the language and because they were given those opportunities back home. And going back to you, Jorge, the same question I will ask you: it's what is your experience in the cultural upbringing, and what are the cultural beliefs and what you were taught in your family?
Yeah, yeah, thanks. So I could relate to what you're saying about how like you're told to. I mean, I was always told to, focus on school, but like obviously the example wasn't always around me. Fortunately, some of my uncles did, study in college and stuff, but it's kind of tough when like, yeah, your parents wish the best for you and want you to study, but like they can't really always guide you in the path. But yeah, so I always heard that, but you know, fortunately, my parents always told me to study and stuff, and that's what I did. And so I never felt like I was not gonna go on to the higher path of education. But I kind of realized that I had to carve my path and do it, make it myself. I don't like seek opportunities myself, but with like the full support of my family. I think um, at least from my parents, is all about working hard, really.
Yeah.
So fortunately, that I kind of um, took that on to really integrate that into my work and behavior when I was in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
a following up
yeah,
question, Jorge, with what you said. How would you tell kids that are in the same situation that you were in high school, that they have the same type of parents and they tell them the same type of things? What are some of the steps that you can tell them, or what are some of the things that can help them too?
I think one thing I've learned now is kind of like to just see that as that's what's going to happen, not like will I make this happen, will it happen. It's like it's just going to happen whether I like it or not. I'm going to go to college, it's going to happen, that's it. And that's kind of like the mentality I always had, and so I didn't really doubt it. Although, like, I mean, well, I wasn't sure if I was going to get to the 4-year university right away after high school, but I think that's one thing. I kind of
Awesome.
have that clear end goal. I think that's what I would say. And I think seek help when you need it. And it is scary. Kind of, you always get nervous about like asking for help, but I think that's usually what I found to be the best thing, because you might think asking a dumb question makes you look bad, but really that's what helps the most. And there are no dumb questions in reality, but yeah. How about you? What would you tell those aspiring academic kids that were in our shoes back like right now?
Yeah. So I think one point of advice, like you mentioned, it's always having the mentality to that things can be done. And the second thing that you touch that is really important, and I'm gonna pick on that, it's that always look for help, because there's other programs in school too that offer tutoring and offer peer mentors, all of that. So it's helpful. So maybe their parents cannot have that knowledge, or maybe they don't have that experience, but then like you mentioned, they can ask for questions, and there's no questions that are dumb or anything like that. By that they learn it, and I think pretty much what you said. I would just pick on that. Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah, so, well said. Um, so on to our next little topic of discussion. So, what if you could kind of give a little explanation as to what your academic dreams were in high school and what the reality was?
Yeah. So my academic dreams in high school was to graduate from high school
Mhm.
and transfer to a 4-year university, which is a university, right? That was my dream. That was my goal. And I was actually able to achieve it. I had to stay after school to be able to complete all the credits. I had to take extra classes. And since English was my second language, I had to take extra classes for ESL, which is English second language.
Mhm.
And I tackled those classes quickly and fast. And I was able to take in my senior year English 3 and English 4 literature. So by doing that, that allowed me to fulfill my dream, that was to be accepted to a 4-year university. And then now, when it comes to the reality was that it didn't go as I planned it, because I
Mhm.
ended up going to a community college instead of a 4-year institution. And San
Mhm.
Francisco State University is the only university that accept me. And the major that I decided was
Like
mechanical
right
engineering,
out of high school.
right out of high school. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
I
Uh,
see.
mhm.
Well, I definitely want to point out, and that kind of demonstrates your work ethic, that you started at the English second language learning in those programs or those classes, which are definitely hard when you're first learning the language, and you made it all the way to those much more difficult English classes by the time you ended. And
Yeah.
so kudos
Yeah.
to you on that.
No, thank you. Thank you. And then going back to you now, what were your academic dreams in high school, and what was the reality?
Yeah. So the funny thing is that I mean I always saw myself going to college, but and that was it. That's all that was in my mind. But uh, an interesting thing was that the first time I went to visit a university
Mhm.
was when I visited my cousin at UC Berkeley, and it had been the first time I'd been on a university campus, and I was already like 13. Other people have the fortune of being able to go to visit universities when they're really young, you know. But that was my first opportunity, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was so amazing how people could play intramural soccer for fun and do all these other things as college students. So that's just what I thought. Like I wanted to go there, and that was it. But the reality was that, you know, I was pretty good at school, so I never really struggled, and I never went to tutoring. That was just it. Not that I hated it or anything. It's just I just never went. I was always doing sports, and another thing was like I never studied for the SAT. I just took it. I got a decent score for not studying, but I just wasn't aware of these steps that I could have taken to apply and get accepted to a major universities. So I was just treading along, and you know, I mean, obviously around me, I if I didn't seek the support, it wasn't going to be there. So that's why I mentioned earlier that it's really important to seek help. Um, yeah, so that was the reality for me. Um, so then, like, now we could talk about like how our academic dreams, realities, kind of shifted to our post high school plans. What ended up becoming. So if you could speak a little bit to like senior year, what ended up happening, like once you graduated, what was the next step?
Yeah, definitely, and I can definitely talk on that. But before I go into that topic, let me ask you some following up questions when it comes
Oh, definitely, yeah.
to the to what you mentioned. One of the things that caught my attention was that you visited a university when you were 13 years old. Would you recommend that to other kids, other families, especially with Latino community, that they don't really have those field trips for their kids? Is in your opinion, what's your opinion on that? Does that benefit a student that it's young?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I definitely do think it's very important because if you don't go to university before you even apply, it kind of feels like it seems as if it's some distant thing that like you don't even know what it is. So why would you like really make the effort to apply to it and go to it, you know? But once you're there, it's kind of like, wait, you know, there's other students that look like me there's other people. If they could do it, I could do it, you know? So I
Excellent
think
point.
it's really important to, you know, for parents to take their children to just see what that environment's like and, you know, ask about what it takes to get there and just, you know, as if it's just a museum and they're going to explore. Yeah.
Excellent.
How about you? What's your thoughts on that?
Uh, Honestly, I would say that it's highly recommended because
Hmm.
that opens the eyes for you to see what a really university is. And I feel
Hmm.
that since you're young, that gets embedded in your psychology. And like you mentioned, it's a key thing. And I feel
Hmm.
that if I had the opportunity to, support programs like that or emphasize that in schools, I would do that. And the other following up question that I have for you, something that you mentioned was that when you were in high school, you were always good at school. What would be your advice for those kids that they say, hey, I'm not good for school, I'm not cut up for school? What would be the advice that you can give them?
Yeah, I would say definitely talk to teachers. I feel like teachers generally have that mentality to help those who seek help. Or yeah, and also I think it's important to kind of look at to those people who you aspire to be like. So, I mean, I know generally school libraries have, you know, biographies of different people who have been, you know, done great things throughout the world and throughout time. And sometimes when you read biographies, I like to read biographies in general. That's why I kind of mentioned this, but you kind of see that these people that, you know, they seem like um, gods or something, they were just human too. They might have struggled, like Albert Einstein struggled with, you know, school, but he became a genius. So he could do it, you could do it. You just see what their path was like. Yeah.
Excellent point right there.